I was going to add Tailwind to one of my Gatsby sites, and I found this issue with the installation guide that Gatsby has on their site, and I thought I might as well record myself aligning this with the proper way of installing Tailwind to Gatsby, and it's kind of a fun way to show how to make a small PR to an open source project. So about a week ago I opened this issue on Gatsby's issue tracker here. I just simply explained the problem and provided some links here to both Gatsby's Tailwind guide and Tailwind's own Gatsby guide, or how to install Tailwind into Gatsby. I'm also asking the maintainers if this looks like something that needs to be fixed, and if so, I'm raising my hand and letting them know that I'm available to PR it. And earlier today I got this comment saying that yeah, it looks good, and this is a PR we would probably accept. So I'm going to take a stab at this. So what we're working on here is the Tailwind CSS documentation in the Gatsby site. Tailwind has their own Gatsby guide here, and I saw these commands kind of differed a bit, and I had to follow the Tailwind one instead of the Gatsby one to make it to get it up and running. So some projects also have a link on each of the doc sites or doc pages that says like edit this page on GitHub. Yeah, here it is. So if I edit this page here, this is where I need to make my changes and PR it back into the main repo. So the way I usually do it is I fork it here to my personal account, and from there I can create a PR pretty easily on GitHub. So I have this new repo now. Let's clone it down, and I think I have a GitHub folder here. Git clone. There we go. So cd into it. So looks like there's a docs folder, and the edited page took us to docs how to styling Tailwind. Let's just jump in there and see what it looks like. How to. So here's the page that I would like to update or align with the Tailwind one. That's great. Let's see if we can run the docs site locally. Just a nice step for us to validate that the changes we're making actually runs in the way they parse markdown or whatever it could be. So what I usually do is I look through the package.json file first, and usually there's scripts here, and what I'm looking for is something related to docs. So lint docs, remark docs, okay, but there's nothing like start docs, or that's what I was expecting here. It could be site as well, I guess. Website. So they have bootstrap, format, hooks, justice for testing, learner is for like multi-packages in a monorepo, linting, markdown. That's probably not it as well. Publishing, testing. All right, some projects also have like projects within projects, so let's jump into the docs folder and see what we find. So there's a readme here. Let's explore it. Okay, read the docs here. We can read them ahead, of course. When you go forth and build this stuff. Okay, not super helpful. So I'm not sure how this is built, but it doesn't really matter because we're only changing the markdown. If I was changing something more complex, I would probably dig more into the local setup, but for now I don't really care. I think I can write the markdown that's needed here. how to styling Tailwind CSS. All right. So let's actually, I think we need to recreate this. Gatsbyjs.com Tailwind. What's the Gatsby guide like? So if I were to create I want to add Tailwind to an existing Gatsby site. This is what I need to do. Okay. This guide assumes you have a Gatsby project set up. If you need to set up a project, head to the quick start guide. Well, let's do that as well. npm init Gatsby. Follow the npm run develop. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. And npm init Gatsby. What would you like to call testing Tailwind? All right, okay, I'm already in the project folder that I want, but what happens if I add? Okay, site, single choice, no, I'll add later. Okay, so Gatsby has quite a cool setup script here. I don't really care for any of these. I just want to run it. Creating yes, cloning site template. Okay. So now we have Gatsby page. Let's get to the Tailwind part here. So adding Tailwind to Gatsby, I first need to install Tailwind CSS. Okay, let's do that. Cool. So let's do the Tailwind part now. npm install Tailwind. Okay. If I just do that and then run the npmx Tailwind CSS init part, what's happening? Right, cannot find module auto prefixer. And install Gatsby plugin post CSS as well Tailwind and peer dependencies using npm. Alright, but if I were to add auto prefixer to this step, would that work? Auto prefixer. Okay, and then I run the init script. Cool, okay. So running Tailwind init needs, it depends on auto prefixer here. So I'm guessing the change we need to do to the documentation is adding auto prefixer here to the install step. If I do that, this is the diff I have right now, which looks super simple. But honestly, I think that's the missing part. I guess you could also argue for making it a bit easier, but since Gatsby is listing different options here, post CSS is just one of them, while the Tailwind guide assumes you want to use post CSS. I guess doing it like this is good. What's the other one? Okay, these steps assume you have CSS library installed, example based on emotion. So I think this fix is good enough. If we were to decide, let's pretend that this is the only change I need. So I would just say I want to commit this, and the message include auto prefixer in Tailwind install command. Now push this. So what I'm pushing to now is my own private fork of this. I want to PR this already. I can just click here, because GitHub knows I'm pushing to a branch and it knows what the original repo is. So it gives me a nice shortcut here. So we can see that the base repository is the Gatsby official repo. The base master is the branch that I want to merge into, or request to merge into. And my repository is the Anton Niklasson one with the master branch. If I were to create this PR, I could probably, yeah, let's go through with it. Docs include auto prefixer and Tailwind install command. We could honestly also show them what happens if you don't have the auto prefixer loaded, and that's this part. So let's include that in the repo as well. Include auto prefixer and Tailwinds. Okay, cool. A lot of projects have these kind of issue templates or PR templates, and they're very helpful to read usually. Is this a blog post? Please mention Gatsby. No, not a blog post. The current. This is just a description of what this solves. Tailwind install guide seems to be missing the required module auto prefixer in the initial command. This is required for MPX Tailwind CSS init to run in the next step. This is what you get if init without. I'll just put my screenshot here, and then okay. I don't really need anything here. Related issue, yeah. Don't remember the issue number here. Let's go grab it. Let's find it. So it's 30537. I'm not sure if GitHub is smart here, but 30537. Fixes. Let's do that, and then remove this comment as well. Documentation. Don't think I need that. So let's have a look. The current Tailwind install guide seems to be missing the required module auto prefixer in the initial command. This is required for MPX Tailwind init to run in the next step. This is what you get if you init without auto prefixer installed. Maybe we should actually link to the page we're talking about here. So just to be extra a bit helpful to anyone, the current Tailwind install guide. Let's do this install guide. That's a link for them. It works. Yep. The Tailwind install guide. Cool. I think that's my PR. So the diff was only this tiny addition to the guide, including auto prefixer and install command, and that passes the next step. So I think that's it for me. I'll open this PR. And let's go into the issue, make sure it's mentioned there properly. That's it. So it's been about 20-25 minutes since I opened the PR, and now I can see that my issue has been closed and that my PR was merged. So they're quick in Gatsby, but that's a great thing. All the builds passed and the code was approved and merged into master. So once the deployment is done and everything is updated, my change will be live on the Gatsby website. That's it. That's how you PR a small thing to an open source project. See ya.